David, I just wanted to show you on the rear wheels when you take the rotor off that you can see, if I can get in there, at the bottom, and you have to have the vehicle in neutral. You see like a little gear. Let's see if I can get there. Right there. There's a little gear there. That's the emergency brake adjuster. And you have to have the vehicle in neutral in order to rotate this axle around. So what I did was I chocked the wheels and rotated it around. Well, I took it, you have to put your foot on the brake, take it out of park with the keys, and then you can rotate the wheel around and then lock everything back up again so it doesn't move. But that's where you adjust it. And with the wheel off like that, once you take the tire off, you can adjust that down, relax it, so that you can get this rotor off of here a lot easier than pounding or anything else. Also, and I'll show that in a minute, on the rotor there are two places that you can put in a hex head bolt. It's a metric bolt, and I'll give you the dimensions for that on the next section of this. But you screw them in and it pushes against this plate here and actually pulls that out, so that makes it a lot easier. So the combination of the two. And then behind your rotor, these are your brake shoes for the emergency brake. And mine were pretty weak, so I'm going to adjust mine. And what you want to do is turn this wheel up. You move that wheel up. Once you get the rotor on here, you take a screwdriver and lift that wheel up, and every time you lift it up, it expands these a little bit more, pushes them away from the center until they touch the inside of that rotor, and you can hear them dragging. And so it should just start to, you should have an even drag all the way around when that's done, and then you can put the rest of the wheel back together again. But I just wanted to show you that. The rotor and caliper are back on now. And so this is the hole that I was telling you about, that once you get the rotor back on again, that you can put your screwdriver in here, and when you go in here and try to flip it up that way, that is a tighten, and when you go down, that's a loose. So in order to take this off, you would want to go down with that, because there's a lip that forms on the inside rim of this where the brake shoes have been rubbing on there. It forms like a little, where they haven't rubbed, it forms kind of like a little crust, and it's hard to get the shoes off. But if you back that emergency brake down all the way, or at least considerably, then that helps. And then I told you that there's two holes that are threaded. Here's one, and here's the other one, and you put the bolts in there. You put those bolts in there like that. There's one, and there's the other one. And then you just tighten this down, each one of them at the same amount, and you watch the edge here to make sure it's coming out evenly. You tighten them down and you wiggle them, and if you encounter a lot of resistance, be careful. These are hard bolts. You don't want to strip the threads inside of here. It doesn't really affect the operation of the car, but it makes it more difficult to get the rotors off. And that's how you take the rotors off. Of course, you got to take off all this crap in order to get the rotor off. But just to adjust the brakes, all you need, the emergency brakes, all you need to do is just go in this little hole and lift up for that little star to make it tighter. And that's it. That's pretty much it. These bolts are class 8.8. Class 8.8 hex cap screws, M8-125 by 30 millimeter. I have the foggiest notion of where I got these. Hillman. Bought them someplace, or maybe I got them at the Toyota dealership, but they work on the Sienna and they work on this 4Runner as well. I don't know if you can see it. This is you can see that lip right along this edge here. It's nice and smooth and shiny, and that's where the emergency brake rides. And with that working, it's it's no problem. But when you try to take off this rotor, this piece of rust, this rim of rust, will make it more difficult. So you have to make the shoes retract back towards the inside of the axle in order to get over that rust ridge.